Welcome everyone to the third meeting of the Interim Joint Committee on Veterans, Military Affairs, and Public Protection. At this time, this meeting is called to order. Will the committee assistant please call the roll?
Senator Berg, Senator Boswell, here. Senator Higdon, Senator Nunn, here. Senator Reed, here. Senator Richardson, here. Senator Smith, Senator Tishner, here. Senator Wilson, here. Senator Yates, present. Representative Blanton, Representative Bratcher, here. Representative Dossett,
present.
Representative Freeland,
present.
Representative Fugit, here. Representative Gooch, here. Representative Hart,
here.
Representative Johnson, Representative Lewis,
present.
Representative Maddox,
here.
Representative Massaroni,
Here.
Representative Moore,
Here.
Representative Proctor,
Here.
Representative Roberts,
Here.
Representative Sharp,
Present.
Representative Stevenson, here. Representative Tackett Lafferty,
Here.
Representative Thomas,
Present.
Representative Wesley,
Here.
Co-Chair McCool, and Chair Deneen.
Here. There being a quorum present, we're empowered to do business today. At this time, I would like to ask Representative Thomas to lead us in the pledge, and following that pledge, I would like to ask Representative Fugit to lead us in prayer, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for another day that we can come to this place, Lord, to do service to you first of all, and to serve our people of Kentucky. We thank you for our country. We thank you for the freedoms that we enjoy. We thank you for, Lord, the sacrifice that's been made for us. And I pray to bless all those that are protecting us here, and Lord, across the seas. And may we always be thankful for the freedoms that we have here in our country, and help us as a committee, Lord, to make decisions that would help our veterans and those to protect us. We love you. Thank you for loving us first, and may we always live to please you. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, I believe every member's had a chance to receive the minutes of the last meeting. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Motion. We have a motion from Senator Wilson and a second from somebody on this side, Roberts. All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Nays, like sign. All right, our minutes are approved. Before we get into the our distinguished veteran for the day, I want to just take a moment to add one thing to the agenda that folks may not have. It's very important that we recognize the great work that our police departments do every day. And I want to welcome Senator Fromeyer and Representative Hart today to get this meeting kicked off. The floor is yours. Please introduce yourself for the record and explain to everyone why we're here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Mark Hart, 78th House District.
Senator Shelley Punky Fromeyer, District 24.
We're here to recognize the Falmouth Police Department this morning. Myself and Senator Fromeyer, we will be presenting them with House and Senate citations. They have recently been involved in in an active shooting situation. And I'll give you a brief description before I ask the officers to come forward. On May 17, 2025, the Falmouth Police Department responded to a call involving a violent exchange of gunfire between two vehicles in the vicinity of Shelby and Park Streets in the city of Falmouth. The brave officers arrived on the scene and with swift action and tactical precision secured the affected area, apprehended multiple suspects, and neutralized any further threat to the public safety, all within 30 minutes of the initial dispatch. Also would like to point out, no one was physically hit or harmed with the gunfire. Their response was just it was perfect. They were right there, and they done what they needed to do. And in small town, as most of y'all know, in small town America, a lot of times these things go unnoticed. And we wanted to take the opportunity not only to commend them on their professional precision, but also just to recognize the effort that they put out there every day to protect the people of the Commonwealth. So at this time, I would like to ask Marty Hart, Nick Timon, Ken Hall, Brady Schmig, Matt Campbell, and Shy Thompson, if you all would please come forward. We're getting organized.
Officer Shy Thompson, so impressed with you. You're such a great example to our young women and to our community. Thank you for your leadership. Officer Hall, thank you for your leadership and thank you for never giving up on us. You keep up with it. I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Jump on the job and you get right to it. You keep up the great. Thank you. Assistant Chief Timon, you are impressive. Thank you for leading this next generation. I appreciate you. Appreciate it.
We have three more individuals we'd like to also recognize with the Falmouth Police Department. The next one I would like to ask Officer Jonathan Bayless to come forward. And as he's come forward, he responded to a call May the 3rd, 2025, involving reports of a fire at a high and dry storage facility outside the city limits of Falmouth. Officer Bayless and a fellow officer risked their own lives to swiftly go into the building and remove a burnt subject from immediate danger, thus saving his life. And we would like to commend him for his actions on that day in the rescue of this one individual.
Thank you. Yes. I thought you were good.
And the last two individuals I want to recognize, their support personnel for the Falmouth Police Department is Chaplain Abram Crozier, if he could come forward, and Police Administrator Marilyn Belcher, if she would please come forward. In their capacity as support personnel for the Falmouth Police Department, they provide vital support to the first responders, thereby contributing to their successful resolution of these incidences and many more. And without their efforts and their support of the department, the department would not be as successful as they have been. So we like to this time recognize them as well.
Marilyn, I know even with your experience, that you are such a role model and example, and thank you for being there. You deal with all the trauma, and then you send everyone into it. But thank you. Thank you for your great work. Thank you so very much. Congratulations. Thank you. Brother Crozier, boy, you keep us inspired and get out there and get to work. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for always keeping our community covered. God bless you. And on the final note, I just want to thank you for giving us this ability to honor them. Falmouth, Kentucky was part of some significant flooding, and this team is part of what you'll experience in your next presentation around the emergency management, the response, and just to stretch and strain that much further, and they show up to these additional emergencies. We're just so proud and appreciative that you gave us the opportunity to honor them today.
Thank you both, Senator and Representative, for bringing these distinguished ladies and gentlemen here before the committee. We're very, very proud of their efforts. There's no greater duty than when you put your life on the line in service of others, and it is an honor, and you guys are shining examples of what makes the Commonwealth a very special place. And so thank you for your service. At this time, I want to call on my co-chair here for a brief comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, it's an honor to be on this board for this reason, right here today, to witness the heroes coming from our state here. And one thing about active shooter situations is every shot that you hear fired in that school or church or wherever it is a potential another life lost. So I commend and hats off to those who sprint to the sound of gunfire, and these men and women are to be recognized absolutely. Thank you.
Senator Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On a little sadder note, I'd like to thank you for recognizing me. I'd like to recognize and one of our firefighters was died yesterday responding to. He was injured Friday when his vehicle left the road. The fire truck left the road, and he died. He succumbed yesterday to those injuries. And as Lieutenant Brian Hatt, the Raywick Fire Department, just want to remember Brian and ask for prayers for his family, and and thank all the volunteer fire departments and firemen across the state, because they put their lives in danger every day when they respond to these fires, and they rush to danger when we're running away. So I just want to remember Brian, and I ask if you take a moment of silence in his memory. That's Lieutenant Brian Hatt, Raywick Fire Department. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator, for calling our attention to that tragedy. At this time, I would like to ask that our distinguished veteran and the representatives and please join that individual at the table to be recognized. We've already done that. We've already approved the minutes. You do it again? Please identify yourselves for the record, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Nunn, representing Senate District 17. Sergeant Major. You recognize yourself, state your name.
Jim Thorne. Good morning, Kentucky.
Savannah Maddox. I represent Kentucky's 61st House District.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for this opportunity today. When I was made aware of it, I could think of no person more deserving than this recognition than Sergeant Major Thorne. I've gotten to know him over the last year and a half during my campaign, and always found him to be a very nice, kind man. And then when I learned about his history, how impressive it is. And so if you'll indulge me a minute, I would like to read the certificate. When they were working on it, they sent me the final draft. They said, well, the font is as small as we can get it. So if you want to add anything else, you have to take something away. And that's how impressive Sergeant Major Thorne's biography is. And with veterans, you can often see on their chests and their sleeves all the things they contributed to their country and to the men and women they served with. But his service has gone on post-military, and his service community, and that's reflected here in the certificate. That's why I want to read it today. Sergeant Major Jimmy Thorne, USMC, United States Marine Corps, retired, is recognized and honored for his years of exemplary service as a distinguished American veteran and respected member of his community. An honorable veteran of the United States Marine Corps who retired after more than 3 decades of brave service to his country, including during the Vietnam War, Sergeant Major Thorne is a native of West Virginia and a respected resident of Williamstown, Kentucky, who enlisted in the United States Marine Corps in 1965. He would go on to graduate from the Marine Corps Recruit Depot at Parris Island and Infantry Training School at Camp Geiger. He served briefly with the 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines at Camp Lejeune before joining 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines, and being deployed to Da Nang, South Vietnam, where he served as a rifleman, M79 Grenadier, fire team leader, and squad leader. He would ultimately serve 2 tours of duty in Vietnam, during which he was assigned to various locales across the country in support of many critical military maneuvers, and suffered multiple injuries on the line of duty, as well as exposure to Agent Orange, which ultimately led to him developing Parkinson's disease. During his military career, he would also serve in Lebanon and Somalia and part of peacekeeping forces before completing his military career on American soil. He is a highly decorated soldier who has earned numerous military honors, including an Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, Purple Heart, Meritorious Service Medal, Navy Commendation Medal, Combat Action Ribbon, and many others. In addition to his extraordinary service to his country, he is a generous supporter of various civic and charitable programs within his community and serves on behalf of the Grant County Sheriff's Office and president of volunteers and community events. Inasmuch as Sergeant Major Jimmy Thorne has consistently served in the interest of his country and community, both as a soldier and civilian, and made unimaginable sacrifices to preserve peace and freedom for his fellow Americans and citizens around the world, he has offered sincere commendation and gratitude for his years of valiant service and extended best wishes for the utmost safety, success, and good fortune in the future. And on the motion of Senator Matt Nunn, Representative Savannah Maddox, and members of the Joint Committee on Veterans, Military, and Public Affairs, is hereby deemed by this honorable body most worthy of its recognition.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Major.
Thank you. Couple of things. One, I want to thank everyone involved in getting me this prestigious recognition. 2, I've made 2 decisions in my life that I'm proud I did. 1 was enlisting in the Marine Corps. 2, moving to the state of Kentucky.
Thank you again, Sergeant Major. And, Representative Maddox has known Sergeant Major Thorne much longer than I, so I'd like for her to say a few words too.
I think Senator Nunn covered it well whenever he said that there's no one that's more worthy of this recognition. And Sergeant Major Thorne, better known as Jimmy, to me and my family, has been a pillar within our community. Our local elected officials know him best as the gentleman who allows them to come out and fire a cannon on his farm in Williamstown. And that's something that Senator Nunn and I are very much looking forward to doing. But really, I don't know if he remembers this or not, but I know him from way back to whenever I was just a kid in high school working at a grocery store. And his kindness at that point, just, to somebody that wasn't anybody, didn't really matter, I think that really speaks volumes to the kind of character that he is. There's so much kindness in him, so much willingness to serve, in addition to serving our country, serving our community. So I am grateful for you, Jimmy. I'm grateful for your service, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Senator Nunn, I do have a question for you. You do have a coin for this gentleman from this committee. Thank you. Yes, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
I'd like to present you this Second Amendment coin
Thank you.
for your for defending our Second Amendment rights.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your service to our country. It's an honor.
So anyway, I'm glad I'm here. I can't believe it's such a big turnout.
Well, we're glad to have you, sir. Thank you again for your service to our country and to the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
And if you ever want to see shoot a cannon,
You come with me.
I may have to check in on that. I'd love to. I'd love to.
That stands for all y'all. You come with me. We'll go shoot the cannon sometime.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course,
Appreciate you.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll help you out with this here. Sorry, maybe. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
All right. It's always an honor and a privilege to recognize distinguished veterans here from the Commonwealth, and very blessed and thankful for the coin, Sergeant Major. So thank you again. At this time, I would like to call up, moving on with the agenda today, Brigadier General Jones, Director Gibson, to come up for their presentation to the committee. We'll be hearing from the Department of Military Affairs and Emergency Management updates. As you all know, it's been a rough year for the Commonwealth and a rough couple of years for the Commonwealth, and we are very, very thankful to those in the emergency services arena that are taking care of our communities and responding to these disasters. So, without further ado, gentlemen, ladies, please introduce yourself for the record, and you may begin.
Good morning, sir. I'm Brigadier General Retired Charles Jones. I'm Executive Director at Department of Military Affairs. Accompanying me today, I've got Director Eric Gibson. He is the Director of Kentucky Emergency Management. And I've got Corey Ann Jackson that's with us. She is our POLAG for the Kentucky Department of Military Affairs. Good morning, sir. I'll be followed by Mr. Gibson.
Good morning to the members of the committee. Thank you all for taking time to get this update on our storm response to our spring events that we've had. Provided this update to one of the task force that some of the members in this body are on, and it was of interest, and we offered to share it again with the VMAP committee. And I really want to just kind of provide where we are and how things are progressing. Through
Can you
those
pull your mic just a little bit closer there so we can hear it? Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you for the let me know that. So as we get through this, I'll provide a few slides, but there's been 3 declared events and 1 undeclared event this year already that we're working through. And I think that it's important to note, just as we begin the conversation, just where we are. This does include the remnants of Hurricane Helene as well, which is within the past 12 months. Taking a look at the slide that's before you, I just kind of start out for realization, because so many members on this committee are infected by by the disasters that we've had this year. They affect your communities, they affect the financial operations in the county and the cities. And so 113 of 120 counties have been declared in the last 12 months. So that includes the remnants of Hurricane Helene, the February flooding, the Valentine's Day flood, you will, for 4860, the April flooding that impacted Frankfort and much of Kentucky in late in April. The first one, 4860, was February. My apologies. 4864 was our April event, and then the tornadoes are 4875. Those are federal numbers that are assigned to those cases. But as you can see, the impacts have not been. There's very few people that have been left out of this year's event. So most of your districts are included, especially when they cover multiple counties. But 113 out of 120 of our counties, I think, is significant to understand why it's a statewide issue and why we have to have these conversations. There's also a 4th disaster request that affects our fellows from Henderson and down there around Union County. There was a severe ice storm event that happened early January. That one has not received declaration. That one also has been denied on an appeal. So that means that those counties, along with what's been done through the state to assist those counties, will not be supported in a federal manner on that particular event. And I get often asked about that January ice storm and how that's impacted. So I do know that I've spoken to those judges down in there and in those counties, and they're specifically concerned about that because there was a burden for ice and snow removal that severely impacted their financial budget for those counties. But that disaster will not be declared. The 3 that have been declared that I discussed earlier are the ones we're going to be discussing mostly today. There's no stranger to the fact that our increase in frequency and intensity is happening. We have a lot of disaster declarations in the Commonwealth. We took a quick look back, and that's going to be in the next slide coming up. And I want to talk about this discussion overall, and then the Kentucky response to disasters and the support of our local, state, and federal levels, along with our help from our partner states that have been really instrumental in providing this needed support during the number of disasters that we've had, and then also the changes that we're making to our doctrine, helping with our preparation, response, recovery, and resilience, as the committee talks about often. I'll start out by talking about the increase in frequency, if you'll switch the slide. So we did just a quick look back in our area. This is the region, the FEMA region, 4 states, the top 3 states in the region. If you take a look back all the way back to 2010, Kentucky's had 33 declared events. We're in a hurricane region. I'm often compared to the region of the Florida, the South Carolina, the Louisiana area. But Kentucky has 33 declared events in the same time as Florida had 31 and Tennessee had 29. And you can bring that forward to the 2020 and just look back over a 5-year period, and that doesn't change. So the fact that we say increased frequency, I think, is not lost on the fact that it's not just in the past few years things have dramatically changed. It's been a trend. The difference is the expense and the magnitude of the disasters. And in that same period, we look back at the financial impact, and financial impact has been significantly more in that last 5 years to what it was in those first 15 years. The total loss to our Commonwealth, they're in public assistance projects compared to the whole overall picture, about $350 million in the first 10 years of that, and about $2 billion in the last 5 years. So the significant increase in financial obligations to these disasters is what you've seen is the difference. And as you all are all aware, that includes those huge tornado events that have happened. Also, the increased flooding across eastern Kentucky in the July 28th of 2022. So those events are what run up those numbers. But this year alone, we've experienced significant loss across the Commonwealth with our disasters. Let me catch up. All right. So I'll start out talking by the 3 events that we've had this year. I want to provide the body an update of how this is progressing and things, but I want to set the stage by showing what we were dealing with. This was the rain that created the severe flooding in eastern Kentucky. And as you notice, western Kentucky still had the most rainfall. The black indicates the highest level. This is a product that you all support. This is the Kentucky Mesonet through Western Kentucky University that we pulled this slide from. But as you can see, there are areas in East Kentucky that had 4.5 inches of rain. And that's a measurable amount that is not sustainable if the ground is saturated, the reservoirs are full. That created that impact, even though there were over 6 inches of rain in Western Kentucky. And we did experience the first fatality in that event actually happened in Hart County. So it's not like it wasn't a widespread event. However, Eastern Kentucky is where we saw the 4860 response be focused around that Pike, that Tug Fork area, the Levisa Fork. Those are the areas over in that far east. So 4 inches of rain in the right setting can create a substantial impact when the ground's saturated and there's been rainfall in the previous days coming up to that event. Go ahead. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. This is the declaration that was that followed that rain event that I just showed. The areas in red are your individual assistance and public assistance declared counties. The yellow counties are going to be just your public assistance. There's a green county there that is only public assistance, and the one down in Simpson County only had individual assistance. So that's a FEMA map that they share with us. But I think it highlights just exactly where our most impact was. The counties that are declared in all, also hazard mitigation is declared in all those counties. And that's a good discussion as we talk about hazard mitigation and moving forward with how that may be changing. So this event was the event that happened that we're still operating through right now. There's still 2 DRCs open on the next, we'll talk about sheltering first. So that event has impacted a lot of folks. We have 85 households still in the Commonwealth Sheltering Program. That included 222 individuals. The good news is in green, you'll see that 240 individuals have transitioned through the program. So progress is being made. It's not like we're just, it's not a stagnant process. People come in, we work with them to find a permanent solution and move them through the solution into that permanent housing so that they are not just a permanent resident of a travel trailer. That's not the goal. It's to provide that temporary or intermediate shelter for them to have a safe refuge while they can come up with a permanent solution, which may be rehab, reconstruct of their own home. It may be working with their insurance company to finally get, someplace to live, or it could be that they're, we're a renter and they're trying to locate new rental property. But this is the program that we operate out at Kentucky Emergency Management. We use a lot of different options, Airbnb being one, state parks, hotels, and travel trailers. As many of you all know, in your all's counties, hotels, motels are not always going to have room for 1,000 people to have shelter. And at one time, when all 3 storms were tied together, we were over 1,000 individuals at one time moving forward. So this is the current status of 4860. So we have 2 disaster recovery centers that are still open, and those are there now. The registration period for individual assistance has ended. Now all we're doing is working through those hard cases, ones where people have been denied because they did not turn in a proper paperwork or a proper thing. So we want to make sure that we've kind of kept them in areas where people go to do business, Perry County down in Hazard, Pike County, Pikeville area, so that people can come in. If they're having trouble with FEMA, the paperwork, the process, there's people there to meet them in their community to help them work through the issues. That number's really been shrinking as we continue to move the disaster forward. And then you can see kind of how the FEMA staff, they're at 332. And I provide that number just to kind of get a scale of how we operate versus how FEMA operates. Our staff numbers are extremely low compared to that. In total, I have about 75 staff members at any time, and we have 332 working this one disaster from the FEMA side. The good news that I think is important to know, individual assistance, that's money that's actually fallen into the hands of those individuals impacted by the event. $57 million has already flowed out, and note that this is just a snapshot in time. These numbers change every day. I submitted the slides to the body just a few days ago, but these numbers I could update them every morning for you. But the good news is you see that almost $69 million has been obligated. Obligated means that's been identified. It's in the payment process. So we always talk about what's actually been expended. We don't talk about what's been obligated in our office because we want to know what's in the bank accounts of our survivors. But to move $57 million across those counties that were in either green or were in red hatch that indicate individual assistance was turned on. Another very effective program that we're operating in this disaster is the Small Business Administration, and they're providing low-interest loans to our homeowners. And the title says business in the title, and I think that's a fallacy. The fact that it's a Small Business Administration, it's not only that, it serves homeowners as well. So if they're impacted by this disaster, they're eligible for a low-income loan to rehab their home, and we really help them with that because many times there are shortfalls between FEMA awards and homeowner dollars. So anybody that's affected by the storm is eligible, and you can see we've got, and the number is different, 16 million and 9 million. And the difference is the fact that they can apply for a $300,000 loan and may only take $100,000 when they get their work completed. They're not forced to take the entire amount. They can ask for more than needed. SBA extends them a line of credit. SBA allows them to do the rehab of their home. And once that's done, so you'll always see a discrepancy between the 16 million and 9 million. That's good news, the fact that they were more eligible than when needed. And then this is another thing that you all as the body and as the Prevention Task Force has talked about, the floodplain insurance, NFIP, as you will. You can see that that's been effective. $37 million of flood insurance has been paid out in this flood. So it's not like our homeowners didn't have insurance. So this disaster has put a considerable amount of dollars. I'm sorry, I'm looking at that there's and then there are expenditures down through there that that show. And so this project, the questions I get from our judges are about how can we get this moving more quickly. And you look at 4860 public assistance. There's only been 6 projects completely obligated to date. That means your counties are probably suffering a little bit right now. Roads have been repaired, culverts have been fixed, bridges have been repaired, and those dollars are stuck somewhere between obligation and payment. And we will move those dollars back to those counties as quickly as they fall into our hands. But there is a review process that goes on once those projects are completed, and there is a 6 or 8 week lag between the time that can happen. So if you hear your judges, your mayors, your county officials that are looking at those dollars, and I talk to them every day just about because I feel the pain that they're having right now. Repetitive loss is an issue that we talk about. 7 of the top 10 counties in the United States of all time disasters are in Kentucky. And those counties are continuously impacted over and over again. And so we know that the financial liquidity of their county governments are stressed continuously when they're paying for one project. And I talked to a judge just recently, and I said, I know when you run for office, sir, you probably had an agenda of all the things you want to get accomplished during your tenure, and you spent your entire time working on disaster response. And that's truly what he said. He said, I've turned into just this, Knott County is who I was talking to, and I don't mind a bit to tell you that Judge Dobson has been hammered by event after event. So it changes what the elected officials may even want to do. I'll move on, I know, out of brevity of time and respect for everyone that's here. Moving on, the next storm was our April storm. The winter in this one, the unlucky winter, 15.86 inches hit out in western Kentucky, the city of Murray. They had more rain than anybody. Even though this storm affected Frankfort significantly, it affected many of Falmouth significantly. It affected many of your all's districts. The fact that we had 6 inches of rain over around Moorhead, significant impact all across our Commonwealth. The good news in this picture, I guess, was it wasn't an event that affected our same counties from our February flooding event. They were spared a little bit by this disaster. They did not receive the same amount of impact over there in Far East. Moving on. So this is the declaration that followed. This is the storm that you heard us talk about, trying to get 48, and this was the 4864 disaster, the April 2nd flooding. I noticed that the incident period on this, it's very interesting. I will say at the very top on the right, April 2nd through May 16th. May 16th is how long it took for the last flood buoy on the Ohio River to fall below flood stage. So we kept the incident period open because we were still having impacts. So you have to realize the rain started and the rain moved, but the water didn't move for a long time. So we stayed above flood stage in the Ohio River until May the 16th. Oddly enough, the next disaster I'm going to talk about, don't advance yet, 4875, the tornadoes happened on May 16th. So we were out of a disaster at our EOC for less than 4 hours, and we had another disaster. So that's the pace that we've been keeping this year. This disaster has 37 counties across the Commonwealth that are individual assistance has been turned on, and then 90 counties. So wide impact to how this has worked. The note to you all is this hazard mitigation is under appeal. We were denied hazard mitigation, and all states have been denied hazard mitigation as this FEMA Renew project is going on through our federal government, through our Congress, through our elected officials. And as that's under appeal, we desperately need hazard mitigation. That's what you all use in your communities to build storm shelters. That's what we do, flood walls. That's how we build safe rooms. And that's also how we've done buyouts. And I see that many of the members in here have had communities that have experienced the buyout process, and that's a completely voluntary process where some community and the member in the community wants to move from that flood area and move to a higher community, and so higher ground in their community. So under appeal is very impactful. This is an expensive storm. With this much impact, this storm likely to be $350 million storm. With that being said, the significant amount of dollars that would work, hazard mitigation is a 20% number of our total loss. And when you look at that 20% number, we can do a lot with $70 million to buy out and improve our infrastructure. FEMA reports that for every dollar that's invested in hazard mitigation, $6 are saved in the future. And that's the kind of investments we all want to make sure we're not spending money in the future. Let's fix our problems now. Hazard mitigation is a big deal. We've talked about it often that emergency management met with all the state directors yesterday and had just urging FEMA to continue the hazard mitigation program. To move on out of time, for the sake of time, this is the sheltering numbers. As you can see, good progress being made. This one is housed a little different. If you notice, we're relying more on hotels in this particular. We have no pending. The big number on the left is the one we use at an EOC. These are slides that we use every day. How many people need a place to go and don't have it? That's the 0 that you see on the left. This is where they are. 4 people in state parks, 74 in hotels, 16 in travel trailers. The good news there, you got 94 households are sheltered, including 260 that make up about 260 people, and we've moved 145 families through our program into a permanent solution. And the green number is the one that I really like to see increasing every day, as we're moving people through our program and finding them. And as school started, we really put an effort to make sure that people were in the right school districts, to make sure they could attend the school of their choice and not have to be in some travel trailer park that was keeping them removed. We're still operating 2 disaster recovery centers, one here in Frankfort at the church. I think you'll see the sign if you travel back out 60 on the way out of the office today. You'll see the FEMA sign. And then we kept one out in Western Kentucky to accommodate the folks out there as well. We're seeing those numbers are starting to trickle down, so those will begin to close. These disasters are 90 days or more old now, so we're only there to solve problems. When the Disaster Recovery Center closes does not mean help's gone. They can still reach us. They can reach out to FEMA. We still run our call center. So it doesn't mean help's gone. It just means that local community center is closing down to try to keep our processes moving forward and for efficiency on making sure that we're not wasting any dollars. You can see they have 227 people in the state working this disaster. We have distributed $28 million in this particular disaster, and our SBA payouts are down there for you all to see. We've approved $17 million and used $7 million of that for our homeowners. Moving forward, 4875 is the tornadoes that are tragic again that occurred May 16th. As you can see, we have 6 counties that had significant impact from tornadoes, and then 39 counties had a damage to public infrastructure that were above the state thresholds, and that's due to the wind that blew down utility lines and trees and debris removal that were done in those counties. And you can see it kind of follows that storm line across. Union and Trigg out in the west were impacted. Christian, let's see, I was looking there as we look across that map, and then it came down, it skipped. That's the same cell that really created most of this damage. Oddly enough, we were in the EOC and watched that cell develop out over Missouri, Poplar Bluff, Missouri. When it came through Ballard County, it put down large hail. Some of our folks out there were sending pictures in to us about this hail that was covering up the palm of their hand. That same cell is the same cell that created the damage over in Russell, Pulaski, and Laurel County. It was a strong storm. It was out in front of the front, and it just came across and created damage all across its path. Again, hazard mitigation is under appeal. I keep highlighting that because hazard mitigation is a true solution for future disasters. Moving forward,
I
sheltering.
want to
Yes,
slow
sir.
you down just for a second because we have a couple of questions that were in this
Yes, sir.
area right here, so I'd like to
Yes,
give
sir.
them the opportunity to
Absolutely.
ask those questions. Representative Moore has a couple of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, thank you so much for this presentation so far. One real quick question, then one that might need a little extrapolation. That January ice storm that you mentioned that's currently under appeal,
Yes, sir.
I'd say, could you kind of briefly give us an idea of A, how necessary is federal support, and B, is there anything we can do in the legislature to support that appeal?
Absolutely. I'll be glad to answer that question, sir. So the damage in that storm, our estimates were about $20 million to start out. So that was the impact to the Commonwealth. And there's it's a pretty widespread impact for the snow removal. We had several counties that received record snowfall, which is included in the Stafford Act, the funding that uses this. And so we felt like we had a good argument for that declared event. And then it was an ice event we were really asking for to be declared. But it's not, snow events are not popular with FEMA, and all snow events going forward are not going to be declared, it seems like. That's kind of the new guidance that we're getting out of the renovations of FEMA. But I would tell you that state-led public assistance are things that other states are talking about up to a certain number, and those are programs that you all obviously would be the pleasure of the body if it's a program that needed to be administered. It would provide assistance. I think the hardest hit counties in that particular disaster were Union and Henderson with the ice removal and the debris that they had. And I think both of those two counties had over $1 million of loss or $1 million reported expenses on this particular event. So there are things that the body could do to help. That would be programs that we would administer through a state-led public assistance type project or something. It also, the SAFE funds that you have used or that the body has passed is influential in making those things, but SAFE funds have been particular to the federal disaster by disaster, and they're not applicable to that particular disaster because there are no SAFE funds earmarked for that snow event, sir.
Gotcha. And then you mentioned on the FEMA side, you mentioned the hazard mitigation that the ROI, basically 6 to 1, every dollar spent saves $6 in future disaster relief. And you talked about the FEMA staff you've worked with here in Kentucky as well. Could you give those of us on this committee a bit more understanding, just because there are some uncertainties right now, and I don't want to just go into what we hear on the news.
Sure.
But we've read things as far as some of these hazard mitigation grants are been eliminated or terminated, and we've heard that a lot of FEMA full-time staff has been cut back, or that they're down like a third of their full-time staff. Could you let us know if there's truth to that, or what you see as potential impacts if there is truth to it?
Sure, absolutely. I'll answer in kind of a holistic way. FEMA has done an excellent job in the Commonwealth. They've supported us at every turn. I will say that what they're talking about with the downturn of staffing at federal level, it would be more of their full-time staff that operate in and around D.C. Well, we did lose a few of the people that were working in Kentucky, but they were replaced. FEMA uses a cadre system to do their position fill. So they have a set of staffers that are out there that will come in and what they do, they'll take these staffers and they'll bring in, and they may be retired folks from FEMA or other industry partners that are familiar, and they'll come in and fill those roles, and then they're not full-time staff. So that's many of the 300 people you might see on a disaster. They're activated for a disaster, they respond, and then when they're done, they go back to their home. So I would tell you that the impacts to FEMA and the changes, and Kentucky has, we've submitted information to the Review Council about things that are important. I highlight hazard mitigation as one of those high lists. But we also, and the general and I talk often about how we use our support, and the things like how things have happened with, the way we build in. So we really involved in an EMAC type relationship with our states that are around us, and you're going to see those other states like North Carolina. We supported them in Hurricane Helene. So when we're short of staff, we can bring in members from other states to help us, and then we support them when they need us. So we found ways to, and I believe that state-led, federally supported truly is the right model. 100% what's being talked about. Our state is poised and operates in that particular model, state-led, federally supported. What we do miss is that hazard mitigation dollar. We need that support there to continue those projects that many of our communities are desperately looking for. I think that Senator Madden often talks about a water pump and a flood wall down around Pineville and how it's continued to save that city over and over again. Those are the projects. Over 100 safe rooms have been built across the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We can put 40,000 people in safe rooms at any one time based on the fact that these hazard mitigation dollars have been used. We use those things for those buyouts. We bought 530 properties in the eastern Kentucky flood and Representative Fugit's area. So hazard mitigation dollars are they're meant to return on investment, right? That's what we're talking about, and how we actually take those dollars and move forward with projects. The project that was completely canceled was called the BRIC. That's Building Resilience in Communities, BRIC, and that was the one that was completely canceled. That we weren't extremely successful with BRIC. We did have about 12 projects. I would have to look to be exact. I'm sorry for the inaccuracy. I'd be glad to get that information for you. But we did have some projects. Frankfurt particularly had a project that was of importance to them about a flood wall and some pumps and things to protect the city of Frankfurt from flooding. And so in this, the spring storm, that would have been one that would have been very valuable to protect this city. BRIC itself, I don't think you'll see BRIC come back. That's just my opinion. I would tell you that there may be a successor program to it, and I would urge that our federal members of Congress move forward with some sort of replacement program that operates, that sees the need of mitigation, or however they wish to reframe that. But mitigation is one of the best things we can do to protect our state.
Thanks so much for educating me, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Wesley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just got a statement for Mr. Gibson. He has helped us tremendously in Eastern Kentucky, and I just wanted to recognize him today of coming out of the Kentucky State Police, also Fish and Wildlife, and he has been given a new position over EMA. I'd just like to thank him publicly, but I would also ask him if he would like to invite all of us up to his command center, get a better perspective of what really goes on behind the scenes for the Commonwealth. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your time. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Representative Wesley. I don't know if it's I can't hold a job or I'm not sure which one it is. So, but thank you. I appreciate it. And I have had the opportunity to serve the Commonwealth for over 30 years, and it's truly a pleasure. And I'm passionate about what I do. And if you all hear me talk very long, you can tell that I live and breathe this stuff every day. So I provide information at your all's disposal. So thank you for recognizing. And we're still on our tornado event. Just to kind of provide you this update, Laurel County and Pulaski County still have recovery centers open. We are talking through, I think we were on the sheltering piece, and you can see that this number is pretty low on this one. 45 staff, very small geographic event compared to the other events that you saw. And that number is moving up very, very quickly right now. $870,000 have been dispersed to people on this disaster. So big difference that you see in those numbers, and it's very important to note, the disaster, like a tornado, runs through a community, and in particular, this community was well insured, and we saw the value of homeowners insurance in this particular disaster because the way that it was impacted. It wasn't a flood. Flooding, typically, that most people don't have flood insurance, or if they do, it's extremely, extremely expensive. And in the opposite, homeowners coverage really steps in on these disasters. So this is a very expensive disaster. However, we're seeing great offsets by our actual outflow of dollars because of the investment in homeowners insurance. So insurance works, and insurance is covering a big piece of this disaster that occurred down there in that storm. I will say that overall, I looked at the numbers this week. We had dispersed about $98 million this year alone to individuals in the Commonwealth of Kentucky through all three of these disasters. And I think that's significant impact to how that dollar is flowing back out. I would tell you that in opposite of that, on public assistance projects, we are writing a lot of projects. The last two disasters were just declared a little over 30 days ago. So the spring flooding that affected Frankfurt and the tornadoes, those public assistance projects have been declared, but we're only about 35 days into that process. So those you're not seeing $0 have flowed out. The first disaster from February was declared a few months ago, and that disaster has about $249 million of obligation already identified in that particular disaster. Now the process is a little long, and we're about 3% into that. So we've run out about $4 million is all the counties have received out of that $250 million of expense. So the numbers are big. We do think that these processes are moving forward, and it's not alarming. We kind of compared, hey, how does this look to the disaster that affected us July the 28th of 2022? And we kind of lined them up and saw where we were 5 months out from that disaster, and we're 5 months to this disaster. And we're making a little more progress, on moving those claims forward. Even though it doesn't seem like it to me, I'm very anxious to get the dollars to our counties. But anyway, I know that others need to talk, and I'm trying to move on. Some things that we're doing at the EOC that I often get asked about by the members, and I want to make sure that we're talking. We're not just stagnant. We're not just sitting there waiting on the next disaster. We're continually planning. We're updating our emergency operation plan. We're practicing these exercises. We did a huge exercise with the National Guard and continue to build that relationship for an earthquake preparedness. And one of the members specifically asked me about an earthquake in one of the previous testimonies, and we did a huge exercise just practicing to make sure we're always ready. But we have the Operations Center, the National Weather Service announced last week that they're going to be bringing a member from, they're advertising and posting so that they can put a National Weather Service meteorologist in our EOC. That's a tremendous improvement in what we have. To have a National Weather Service meteorologist embedded with our EOC has been a significant improvement in these disasters, and I welcome them. Our state partners, the Disaster Prevention and Resiliency Task Force that's met 3 times now, has heard from many of our emergency service partners. Public Health was here last week, along with the other meetings. I would say Agriculture was here this time. And you continue to hear, it's not just emergency management that's doing this. We partner with all of those state agencies, and we provide that coordination for that relief that your particular county may need. We share a EOC web face for all of your county emergency managers. We're working to procure things like generators and laundry trailers, just because it's cheaper for us to own them than it is to rent them during these disasters. We saw that the expense of renting something during a disaster is extremely high, and it's more efficient for us to have a few of the things that we know are going to go out the door. So we're trying to manage our money as wisely as possible. This iFlow system, I talk about that because that's a river stream gauge that was in eastern Kentucky, 270 monitoring sites across some of the back streams that aren't necessarily monitored by in the other federal systems. I'll leave it at that. There's a lot of different acronyms, and I get hung up on them. But we have requested an upgrade to that system, and it's part of Congressman Rogers' federal appropriation to allow us to get back in and upgrade that system that's getting pretty old. Urban Search and Rescue, Representative Hart has been a big piece of that, and the body in whole. General Jones that sits beside me, we meet every week on Thursday at 10 o'clock, and we continue to move that ball down the road. The general and his team upstairs at DMA have been nothing but supportive, and I would say the success of the first year is one to be noted, and I would love for you all to see the progress that's been made. A warehouse full of equipment. Over 1,100 applications have been received from members of our Urban Search and Rescue. We have 300 vacancies, and those are volunteers. So that's the kind of stuff. There is a true volunteer spirit for this, what we're doing, and people want to help. And the equipment that his team has been able to deliver, working with my team and identifying that equipment, we have executed fully the dollars that have been given. And I know we're going to provide an Urban Search and Rescue update specifically at another meeting, but it doesn't go without saying in case someone needs to know where we are. We are meeting the standards that was set by the legislators and executing this program with the team upstairs. Aerial documentation, I've got one slide I'll share with you. We reach across into cabinets that you may not think are part of these disasters, the finance cabinet, and I'm going to show that in just a second. We have a disaster hotline, something that no other state's really doing like this. We have an unmet needs call center that we maintain that has a bilingual service. We also have the ability to communicate with people there. We've taken over 7,000 calls for unmet needs where people were either they were lost in, needed shelter. They may have been looking for their disaster recovery center. They may have just needed a meal or whatever it is, and we were able to direct them to those things. And so running a state call center has been a significant impact. General Jones let us have one of the units in the back, out back, where they had some privacy. And we've been able to really help people. FEMA's partnered with with us there, and we have a FEMA person and a state person in there at all times answering calls, especially during the disasters. So what happens is people see that federal call number, and no one likes to answer a call from Washington, D.C. or Texas. But if it's a Kentucky number that we have on our website that is a local number, we see that people are more drawn to what they trust. And they trust Kentucky Emergency Management. They trust that it's coming from Frankfort, Kentucky. It's not some spam. And we've had tremendous success. And to move quickly, the qualification system that we're working, we're meeting that national standard for our emergency management performance grants. We've certified 3 individuals now as a certified Kentucky qualification system. Kentucky Mutual Aid System, many of your judges and executives and emergency managers came to our EOC back at the end of, I guess it was the end of July, wasn't it, sir? And we signed a statewide mutual aid agreement, just ensuring that there is and that's in our 39A chapter, that we're to organize and make sure those things are done properly. So we're trying to fulfill those measures of 39A and making sure that our communities are supporting communities the way states support states. Sorry to be so long-winded, I apologize. Your all's urban search and rescue. I'll save this one to the later slide. I think we're going to get a full time to do that. This is the slide that I like to share. This is the distillery right here in town during the height of the flood. And if you notice, that screen may be a little small for everyone to see. That line that you can see, this is what it would look like on a normal day on the left. That's the sewer sanitation facility on the left of the river. And we can move that slide left and right, and I can cover the entire river at any time. Finance Cabinet built this. They built this in just in a few hours. We did a flight of the river at this crest here in Frankfort so we could document the damage. But that slide in the middle moves left and right, and we can put that distillery in the dry, or we can put it in the wet, and we can do that for every property on the river. So we reached out and we submitted that to FEMA, and I think that's one of the things we did to get those individual assistance declarations very quickly. We upgraded our technology. We found a way to submit and tell our story quicker than other states are able to do that, along with our partners across state government. Thank you for your time. I yield. I'm sorry for being long-winded. Everybody knows my passion for what we do here. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for a very thorough presentation on these recent disasters. And your presentation may have been a lot shorter if we didn't have so many back to back to back and
Yes, sir.
impacting so many counties. This is a very rare situation, and so it's very important that that's why we brought you here today. As far as the assistance goes, many on this committee, or some on this committee, and many in general public don't see a difference in the IA or the individual assistance and the PA, and the public assistance is vital as it returns funding to our municipalities and to our county governments for their expenditures during these disasters. So we want to definitely thank you for expediting those applications and getting us into a position to where our counties and our cities can be reimbursed for some of those expenses. And with that, I do have a couple of folks that have some questions. Senator Boswell.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, it's been a difficult year.
Yes, sir.
In my district, the 8th district, we've had Davis County had the second, maybe the worst flooding of all time. We've had the worst hail damage in the history of our county. One of my counties, McLean County, the flooding was the worst in history. I think as much as 50% or more of the entire county was. So my question, though, is that, we've had all these disasters, and as a result, we've had to hire additional personnel for different parts of all this mitigation and help and all the things we've done. As we go forward in the future, as a body here, we've got to figure out how we're going to have a balance of what do we do with all these extra people. And I just wonder if you could comment about that in relationship to going forward. We don't know what's going to happen, but we've had to make a lot of expenditures as a result of the floods and all the things that we've had. What do we do with everybody we've hired going forward into the future?
So the emergency management group, we've done we use contractors to surge in our agency to meet that need. I do think we're understaffed a little bit. We have some vacancies, and the general and I are working hard to get those filled every day. We have that conversation about how we continue to be at the right number without being too heavy, because we understand the cost of doing so. Our agency does get a lot. We get a lot of federal match, and the management cost of the disaster helps offset the state salaries. So those dollars are not always charged straight to the general fund. Many of the dollars that we use to operate at emergency management are truly operational management cost of federal programs. I would say I know that counties also get a little bit of management cost for each disaster project that they work, and they have used and utilized the contractors that we have on master agreement, or others if they choose, and they get an offset of 5% of the total cost of the operation to restore that county. They get that in management costs to help pay them to do that. So it doesn't go all on the backs of the county as a total general fund expense. that county does get a percentage of the disaster cost to help them with those management costs of those particular individuals.
Thank you.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank you all for your service and what you've done during these floods. We had a disaster FEMA center in Hardin County, and when you go in there, you had the Small Business Association there and you also had a representative from your all's organization was there. So I went into the one in London as well, and you had someone there too. So even though everybody's saying these are FEMA centers, the state has people there, and they were very instrumental in helping people through to get shelter, to get food, to get transportation, and other things that FEMA may not be able to help. So you're there to fill the gap, and I think you all did an excellent job at that. And everybody I've talked to, and every organization or every FEMA place I went to, you had somebody representative that was very knowledgeable and was helpful for people. So I appreciate that. But my question is this. So we can predict some of these weather, right? We can predict some of these potential things that are coming up. Do we have a full-time person or a person that's monitoring these potential disasters to where we can preload or put assets in place prior to that so that we'd be able to respond in a quicker manner and more efficient manner? And if not, what can we do to help get somebody there that can, if we know weather's coming our way, we could put somebody on orders or with the National Guard or somebody from your organization can monitor it, and we can preload and get people ready to go there to respond quicker.
So 100% what you're saying is part of the process that we work on all the time. The National Guard are co-located with us, and having the general in his role, he has a lot of influence on how they are stood up and ready to go, and his close relationship with our two-star. And I would tell you that our agency has moved to a more of a pre-deployment type than in the past. I think you saw the successes in the two flooding events by having those bringing in those swiftwater teams in advance and getting them scattered out across the state. And during the operation period, we move those around. We have a 24-hour warning point. We do keep someone in the EOC at all times. We take all the calls for other state agencies, not the state police or anybody, but like if it's a hazardous material spill or if it could be a school bus wreck across our state, we take those calls in our EOC 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we are staffed and we're watching for it. Those decisions to pre-deploy always fall back to myself and the executive leadership on how we're going to move because we're starting to spend dollars. And I think it's important to understand, because it comes up often, about how it's difficult for us to pre-deploy until we get the state of emergency to start being able to spend, because people are just volunteering to pre-deploy. So when often I'm approaching our executive leadership at the governor's office and saying, these are the situations that we're in, because if we ask or move assets that cost money, we have to have that spending mechanism, and that's part of that process, sir.
And just to follow up, I think we would rather pre-deploy and not need them than to not deploy.
Sir, we do that, and we do it at a cost of the organization. As we're watching weather events start to occur, as they're building to the west of us generally, we're standing up the EOC. They're standing up at different levels as they do their activation. If you look at 2024, I think the total was a number of like 36 times that we activated the EOC. Did the event occur? No, we like it when we get to stand down on Saturday morning or whenever it is, but we routinely stand up based on predictions. And to what level we continue to ratchet up. I will tell you that when the event happened in London on May 16th, we had elements already pre-polled ready to go into the area.
Thank you, General.
All right, we have two more questions to be asked, or two more representatives to ask questions. I would please ask the last two to be quickly to make those one questions if you can. We do have another presentation today, so we'd like to move on to that presentation after these questions. So at this time, I'll call on Representative Fugit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Not really a question, just a comment. General Jones, Director Gibson, thank you all for everything. East Kentucky could not have made it without all your due diligence and all that you've done, and I just want to say thank you publicly.
Thanks, sir.
Representative Thomas.
Yeah, thank y'all for everything. And right here, I know it's hard. You see your voices coming from the ceiling there. After the Mayfield tornadoes that were so devastating and stuff, many counties set up long-range disaster relief committees, smaller committees, where you have a point of contact as soon as if something happens. Are you finding that? Did that happen across the state?
Mm-hmm.
Are those being useful? I know Representative Dawson and I sat on quite a few of those committees, and they set up checking accounts and everything, so they're a quick point of contact. Did you find that to happen across the state?
So Kentucky has 13 current counties that have long-term recovery groups in place. And then we also have the council of the Long-Term Recovery Council, and we've been working very diligently to try to build more of that in. We have one person that's assigned to that. He just retired August the 1st, and we're working to replace him right now. Our volunteer coordinator is kind of our, that was a position inside my agency, inside the Department of Emergency Management. And that person is Bill Eckler. He was in that role, and he would visit those counties and continue to have that conversation about building that long-term recovery group. And right now we're at 13. I think that the number of disasters this spring really initiates more of our counties, but that 113 of 120 counties, people are going to see the value in having that information in their hands. This is what happens when a disaster occurs, right? That the red lights and the sirens and all the life-saving actions go on, but then that disaster lasts for a really long time. And that's where that long-term recovery group comes in to make sure that community gets back to a more whole position that as close to as back to what it was as possible, utilizing the recovery dollars, utilizing volunteers, utilizing all of our different pieces and programs of resilience that we can to make us better in the future.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Representative Thomas.
Thank you all for coming today. We really appreciate your presentation, and hopefully next time we won't have as many disasters and we'll be able to get through it quicker. But I'm telling you what, you guys did a great job today, and I would be remiss on behalf of this committee if we did not thank you and thank every county that has been affected and their EMS workers and their response teams. I was there in Hardin County with ours, coordinating many of the responses to the flooding, and absolutely amazing to see the coordination and the dedication of service to our communities. So thank you all for what you do. At this time, folks, we have one short presentation coming up, but this is an area where in the midst of all of these disasters, we don't give a lot of thought to. But it is very, very important. This next presentation comes from the County Coroners Association, and I would like to invite them up to the table today. We have with us today Mr. Jones. Would you come forward with your guest as well? The unfortunate truth of our disasters is many of the times our coroners are involved in recovering our loved ones, our family members, and our community members at all hours of the night, all hours of the day, and they are on the front lines. And so I asked them to come today because they had spoken to me earlier about a month ago, and I really wanted this committee to hear the need that we have as we go forward into the budget system. So the floor is yours. Please introduce yourselves, and you may begin.
Thank you, sir. I'm Jeff Jones. I'm the coroner in Davis County, and I'm currently the president of the Kentucky Coroners Association.
Pat Elmore, Hardin County Coroner. Jeff Howard, Shelby County Coroner.
We really appreciate the opportunity to get to come and talk to you. I was told that I had an hour, but for your sake, I'm going to shorten it to about 3 minutes. The Kentucky Coroners Association has the mass fatality response team, and my colleagues and I come to you today to ask for your support and to ask for some possible funding. The Kentucky Coroners Mass Fatality Team responds to a local mass fatality in which the local coroner has called and asked for our assistance. And the previous presentation, you certainly have seen what has happened across the Commonwealth the last several years. The team is made up of approximately 150 coroners and deputy coroners across the state. They're all volunteers for the response team, and we respond. And again, unfortunately, over the years, we've had to respond here more locally, or not locally, but more often in the last year or so with some of the disasters that we've experienced. We go back to the airplane crash in Lexington, the tornadoes down in Mayfield, the flooding in eastern Kentucky, the most recent tornadoes in May, and our response team was able to respond and to assist in the recovery of individuals that had lost their lives in that tornado. We were able to transport them to the Kentucky Medical Examiner's Office in Frankfurt. Frankfurt. Was able to assist with the autopsy process, the identification, and then ultimately assist in turning those individuals over to the funeral homes so that the families could make arrangements. And we did that basically within a 48-hour period of time, which again speaks volumes for the response of all the coroners and deputy coroners. And over the years, I've had, I don't know how many times individuals have said, I wouldn't do your job. And there are times when we don't want to do our job, but it is a job that is required. It's a job that's necessary, and it's one that we do with respect and compassion to the individuals and to the families that we serve in assisting them in a time that is just absolutely a disaster in their lives. So our response team, we have some equipment, but that equipment is 25 to 30 years old. We've had some trailers. Again, it's outdated. Some of the equipment is outdated. The equipment that's needed for the team to respond, safety equipment wise, we're in need of. And so we're certainly asking for any support that we possibly can get to assist us in serving the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And I think Jeff has a few remarks about the tornado.
Just real quick, you all have got a package that we put together, provide to each and every one of you. If you would look at it, as you go through it, you don't have to now, but there's an organizational structure that's setting there. It shows you how we're laid out. Anytime that a disaster occurs in the state of Kentucky, with Director Gibson and with the emergency management, they'll make a contact to one of our leadership members, and we'll have a representative to respond that we set into the Emergency Operations Center with Kentucky Public Health in their sector in the Emergency Support Unit number 8. So we support that with coroners. Just to give you an idea, in regards to the tornadoes in Laurel County, that happened, we know, up early in the mornings, around 1:30 in the morning. Got the call from Director Gibson, got the call from Executive Director Pollard from the Coroner Association. We had representatives sitting at the EOC within 30 minutes. Upon arriving there, we talked to the coroner down in Laurel County. He advised that he knew of one death at that previous time, but he was unable to even get out of his driveway. Trees were down. We asked him, did he need assistance? He called us back and said yes. We had 2 teams responding there to his area within 45 minutes of that tornado touching the ground. Those crews arrived on scene. With them arriving on scene, they seen the disasters that they had. They called back to us. We had 9 additional teams responding to their location by 4 o'clock in the morning. And just think of this. This is making that phone call to a coroner in the county and getting them to respond. With this incident that happened in Laurel County, it opened our eyes with the Kentucky Coroners Association. So what we've done is, with President Jones's approval, we have divided Kentucky out into 10 different regions. So we have a response team in each region of the Kentucky, and you'll see it in your map that's provided to you. Our goal is to have a response trailer in each one of these areas. For that capability, if that tornado or that disaster strikes that area, we will be able to have a response trailer immediately to be able to respond there to additional resources can come. So that's our whole goal here. And I'd like to say thank you for allowing us the time to come and talk to you today.
Thank you all. Currently, I believe in our last discussions we had last time I met with you, you had divided up the state into 10 regions.
Yes, sir.
And you currently have 5 response trailers.
Correct.
Is that
Yes, sir.
correct?
Correct.
And so we have basically half of the state covered with these emergency response trailers.
Correct, sir.
And from our previous conversations, you all are looking for the state to assist you with 5 additional trailers to cover all of those areas, which basically include 1 trailer for 12 counties, correct?
Correct.
And the expense of that one-time trailer, because in the emergencies that you all go out and serve our communities, this would be a one-time expense because this would fall under the replenishment of FEMA funds as we go forward. So I don't believe that your request was or concerns was by any means out of line. Can you share with me what you shared, or this committee shared with me, the cost of one trailer? Remember that cost? I do.
Roughly the cost of, and to give you a breakdown, we were looking at a total cost of $160,000 to $200,000 to equip 5 trailers and to provide safety personal protection equipment to each member of our team. That is what we're looking at. So roughly, I don't know, doing my math, roughly around $25,000
per trailer.
Per trailer, yes, sir. And then the personal protective equipment.
And then the equipment that goes along with it. So, folks, we're looking at a very, very minimal cost here for a service that we all depend upon in emergencies. And I would encourage all of you to think about that request of what we can do with $160,000 to $200,000 in our state budget here to serve our families and our communities in their most vulnerable times. I don't think it's a out of line or unreasonable request. And I want to thank you for being straightforward and honest and to really narrowing down your request. We get so many requests of so much money, large sums. And then when we have a request like this, it really isn't something I think that the state needs to consider, and our representatives and senators all need to consider as we move forward into the budget cycle. So if there's any questions, we have 2 before we, Representative Roberts and then Senator Boswell.
Senator Deneen's question actually addressed my question, so
all right, wonderful.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Senator Boswell.
Well, I'm a little biased, but I'm going to thank my coroner, Jeff Jones, and the president here being here today. But I also want to call attention to the number of years, and I want to honor him for the number of years he's served in the law enforcement community before he became coroner. So thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn today? All right, we are adjourned.